Maxie, I've been thinking, should we do season 3 on the Dr. Joe show? You sure? You sure it's a good idea? You know, that's what I'm talking about. St. Louis, King St. Louis, is actually a very interesting figure. It's said that he actually at one time owned Christ's crown of thorns. Jesus Christ. You know, we're not getting into religion here. I'm just saying the historical figure, Jesus Christ. Yes, he did exist. Whether or not you believe anything else, he did exist. And he was crucified. And apparently, there was a crown of thorns put on his head. And apparently, St. Louis, or King Louis then, the Ninth, owned this crown of thorns. He bought it. I don't know. In a lot of places online, it says he just was known for buying sacred religious artifacts. Well, I did some research, and one of those artifacts is said to have actually been Christ's crown of thorns. You just never know about these things. But interesting figure nonetheless. And you know, I found it funny. I found this really funny. Here I am coming up with this theory, all right? Doing my research, going online, looking at all sorts of things, and all of a sudden I come across the Honduran Saint Luis Rey, made by Altatis USA, or produced by Altatis USA. And on the inside lid of the box, they have a picture of a king. So I said, oh, they beat me to it. They fucking beat me to it. I forgot all about that. Yeah, that's right. They have the king on the inside of the box. But maybe they didn't, because here's the funny thing. Maybe they just put him there because of the word Rey, and they didn't even fucking know about this whole Louis IX fucking fiasco. Because on the Altatis website, Americanized cigar here, Saint Luis Rey, it gives the same two reasons for why the cigar was created. The Thornton Wilder play, or the San Luis Rey Valley, San Luis Rey region in Cuba, and says absolutely nothing about St. Louis, King Louis IX. Yet, on the inside cover of their lid, they chose to put a king. Very, very strange. I mean, I thought I was going to say, oh, let me go to their site, and it's going to say, yeah, these were made after, to recognize or honor or whatever. Anyway, so that's it. That is, pick one of those three options. It's one of those three. That is why this cigar exists. That was the idea behind it. Which one you want, I don't know. Whichever seems nicest to you, choose that one. But for now, we really don't know. I like my theory. I think it makes the most sense. I think it makes the best use of the actual wording of the brand. And let's not forget, we haven't gotten to this here. Now, what is that? What is this thing on the St. Luis Rey band? Well, it is, in fact, a grand coat of arms. A grand coat of arms showing the closed royal crown with a cross on top, and it's surrounded by what's called a mantle. There are different versions of these coats of arms, and they can be held up by pillars or birds or eagles or lions, or depending on where. Okay, here's the thing though. Number one, obviously, you really can't make out the symbols on this coat of arms. You can make out how many compartments there are, though. The closest the closest, and I looked at, man, I'm going blind and I'm tired and I'm losing my fucking train of thought and everything. I looked through hundreds of coats of arms online. A lot of French coats of arms found really. I found ones with the same crown and the same mantle and all that, but nothing too persuasive other than that. Luckily, there are only so many coats of arms that are that big with a closed crown on top, and I did some digging. I don't know if I found the exact right one, but the closest, and it's very close to this one, is the Grand Coat of Arms of the Spanish monarch, 1931. Found it on Wikipedia, the 1931 version. And I'm telling you, I looked through hundreds and hundreds of... At first I was looking through the ones from France, because I figured Saint Luis Rey, or the King of France, maybe it's France. Well, it seems, and I'm only saying it seems, and here's where I would like somebody who's an expert at symbology, or coats of arms, or these kind of things, to come in and tell me, what exactly is that? What does that represent exactly? On my computer right here, and I'll show it to you, well, right now. Here it is. There you have it. Coat of Arms of the Spanish monarch. Now, that one doesn't have the curtains, but see, the curtains is the mantle, the little curtains. But that's like one of those things that can be swapped out. They can embellish it with the mantle. There's mantle version, non-mantle version, etc., etc., etc. But that's the closest one. You know, coats of arms with a closed crown, there are quite a few of them. In fact, here's an earlier version, what is called the lesser version of the coat of arms of the Spanish monarch. Lesser probably because it has less symbols, signifying symbols on it. But here it is with the mantle. Okay, so now you saw one with the mantle. So now imagine that one with all the stuff in those curtains. Yeah. All right, you know, but am I sure? No, I'm not. I really can't tell. The guys who first originally created Saint Luis Rey were named, remember, Zamora and Guerra. Now, these can be Spanish surnames. Guerra can be French also, though. But let's assume the Spanish. Let's assume it's 1938. And the version of the coat of arms I showed you was Spanish 1931. Maybe that's it. Maybe. But I can't tell for sure. One thing that stands out, however, is this part down here. See that? Those 5 spikes right there? That's very important. That signifies the order. You know, it's every little part of the crest of the coat of arms means something. Every little part. There is nothing there that doesn't mean anything. So this is like a symbologist's dream. That little part right there, the order, is very important. And it's very, very vividly displayed right here as having 5 points coming down. Now, there are some of these crests with a cross, like the one I just showed you. That's not a cross. There are some of them with what they call a golden fleece, which looks like a dead lamb hanging there. Could be, if you count 1 point as the head and the other 4 as the legs and a tail or something. I don't know. But what it really looks like are tail feathers. And there are plenty of crests surrounded by eagles. The eagle wings act as the mantle, and the tail feathers come down in that area. But there's no eagle here. Can you have tail feathers without the eagle? I don't know. I'm not a symbologist. I'm not an expert on these things. So, if anybody knows anything and can properly identify, and I mean 100%, don't give me I already gave you a bunch of I thinks, maybes. I need somebody who knows what that is to get in touch with me. And at the same time, I'll be emailing a few people myself, and hopefully we'll find somebody who can tell us what this crest is exactly, because maybe that will give us further information on what this brand is. So, that is about enough on crests and all of that. That is pretty much the extent of the history of this brand. Well, except some other important things. Few other important things. Now, here's another important thing, and a lot of you have been waiting for this one who know about Cuban cigars and know about this brand at all. There was a copycat brand. And no, I'm not talking about the Honduran Altadis version. There was another Cuban brand, copycat brand, called San Luis Rey. How imaginative. Guess what? There was a brand called San Luis Rey instead of Saint Luis Rey. Exactly the same spelling of Luis and Rey, but instead of Saint, you had San, S-A-N. Oddly enough, the symbol, the crest on that version, it's a black band with a very similar mantle, crown type motif, but the crest is much smaller, and it is very much the crest that they use on the Americanized version of Saint Luis Rey. So the American Saint Luis Rey, made of Honduran tobacco, is almost like a cross between Saint Louis and San Luis Rey, because it has the Saint Luis Rey name, but the San Luis Rey shield. It's very, very odd. Anyway, supposedly this brand was created because in 1980, Germany sought to get some of these Saint Luis Rey cigars. There was a market there for them or whatever, and they could not be exported there for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. You know, maybe it had to do with the East Germany, West Germany, the Berlin Wall was still up. Maybe it had to do with other European things going on at the time. Maybe there were distributor rights still in effect since the time of Silverstone and the Kaiser, you know. So perhaps there, you know, it was could only be distributed to the UK area at the time. Anyway, Germany wanted some, and this brand was created to fill that void. Now, a lot of places online will give you erroneous information and say, be careful, there's an inferior San Luis Rey. The truth is, these were all handmade cigars. Saint Luis Rey, in general, when it first came around, was supposedly a cigar that was created to be a medium between cheap cigars and expensive cigars. It was totally handmade, but it was using tobacco of, you know, not as expensive quality. And this was, you know, during the 1950s when Silverstone and De Kaiser had, before the revolution, before the Cuban Revolution. So when each brand was actually a brand, each brand was backed by its own separate company, that's the kind of cigar this Saint Luis Rey was. You know, a middle ground cigar. And here's another funny thing I didn't mention before. For the people who say it points to the San Luis region where the finest wrapper leaf is grown, that's not the kind of cigar this was when it came out, when Silverstone and De Kaiser were handling it. It was a middle ground cigar. You know, a little less expensive, but still very good quality. But not finest wrapper leaf in the world quality. So, again, kind of odd. But back to San Luis Rey. This cigar is easily identifiable, for the most part, when they have the black bands. It's not easily identifiable, you may slip up, when you're dealing with cigars that have no bands. Now here we're talking about vintage cigars, beyond vintage cigars. You know, before 2006, all of the Saint Luis Reys that came in cabinet boxes, slide lid boxes, had no bands. They were bandless. Naked cigars. The problem with that is so are some of the San Luis Reys, and now the only difference is whether you notice the San or the Saint. This confused a lot of people, you know. So San Luis Rey cigars, the ones that were distributed to Germany and maybe Switzerland, don't exist anymore. Well, they're not in production. They were from 1980 up till 2000. 20 years. So sure, there are still some of them around if you know the right people. Or in this case, cigar went out. Or in this case, why would you want to know? I mean, why would you want Saint Luis Rey cigars? Unless you're, you know, avid collector and you need some of any kind of Cuban that ever existed. So, here's another interesting little tidbit about Saint Luis Rey. There was one machine-made cigar, a little cellophane-wrapped Panatella. The interesting thing about this cigar, made from short filler, was that it was a Cuban cigar completely made in Europe. So it wasn't made in Cuba. It was a Cuban cigar made in Europe. And this was after the revolution. So this was very odd. And that's the way they marketed this. But other than that, it was just a short filler machine-made cigar. As you can all see, my cigar did go out. Was I talking too much? Is it too wet? Well, to tell you the truth, I think it has to do with the draw, which is a little bit tight. And like I said before, yeah, it seems a little, you know, it's just hard to draw. I think it's very well packed. Now it's opening up. A lot of thick tobacco in there. And I think I just got past a bit of a knot, because now the draw, just that one puff right there, all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa. Anyway, good cigar. Very tasty. And hopefully the rest of them in this box, you know, don't suffer from the same, suffer from the same type of draw problems. But other than that, you know, that's good. See that? Now it's really opened up. Anyway, that's enough about Saint Luis Rey. Not much more you need to know about that. There were 5 handmade Vitolas, 1 machine-made, that Panatella I just told you about, and they existed from 1980 to the year 2000. But getting back to our Saint Luis Rey, let's talk about the second third before I finish the last third. Second third was good. Good except for, again, the somewhat tight draw. It's not so tight that it's ruining the cigar, but it's tight enough that, you know, I'd like it to be looser. Right now, just getting into the last third, it seems to have opened up. I think I got past a bit of a knot in this one. By the time this review goes up and is, well, you'll be watching it right now, obviously, I'll have smoked more of these, and maybe I'll include at the bottom of the screen right there what I think as far as construction goes. But this is good, you know. Flavor is really, really good. It's a bit complex. There's pepper notes, cereal notes, hay, wheat, you know. It's very good right now. Deep, earthy. Got plenty of salt, a little bit of twang, some spice, some pepper. It's very nice, and it's just a very nice floral aroma. Oh, ooh, very nice aroma. Floral, cedar, just very, very nice. All of a sudden, just very, very musty, very heavy. Nice, very nice, you know. Definitely a medium full, I would say. Medium for the most part, but right now it seems to be leaning more into the full terrain as far as flavor goes. And I like it. I like it. I think it's a very good cigar. Say goodnight, Max.